I wanted to ask you about that. Have you talked about that Sydney Watson lawsuit yet on the
Yeah,
show? Were you going to?
I read about it. I read through it Monday night. Yeah, I read through the
Oh,
whole
you
thing.
did?
And then I was just on Elijah Schaffer's show earlier, but he's not talking about it, of course. He's not in it. He's just like the whole focus of it, but he's not named in the
He's not
lawsuit at all.
that lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah, they're just going after Blaze. They're like, oh, we're gonna get the
Yeah.
Blaze. I think they figure that he doesn't have any money to take, so they're gonna well, compared to the Blaze anyway,
Sure, yeah.
that they're gonna go after that. But
Is it bullshit or is it like? I mean, I hear like sexual harassment, and then I saw Nick Fuentes was in it, and I'm like,
well, he was listed as like the ultimate misogynist. So I think you should sue him.
I'm gonna sue Sydney for defamation.
Yeah, listen, bitch, you haven't even seen misogyny yet.
Nick Fuentes personally told me that red pilled him on women. So I would like a retraction of this statement as the ultimate misogynist, and I would like to be included in this lawsuit, please.
So on the lawsuit itself, I think it's going to heavily depend on, like, there's not enough in the lawsuit to really like sell me on the idea. I think it's going to heavily depend on depositions about what was said at meetings from management and stuff like that. Like, I have a hard time. Okay, so Elijah is the co-host, and they hire him for his shows Slightly Offensive, which is wildly offensive and completely like full of jokes, very offensive, abrasive humor, very edgy. And so he's going to be the co-host. I have a hard time feeling like you get paired up with Elijah Schaffer and go, well, I'm probably not going to hear any dick jokes. Like, it'd be like if someone put me as a co-host to something and someone's like, well, I don't think he's going to ever drink or tell any like offensive jokes, or like, heaven forbid he says anything about Jews. Like,
well, isn't it like a dick joke? Like the first one's like a lot, but then over time they like kind of asymptotically, like they lose their punch, right? Like how many times you can big cock, huge cock, oh, cock in your mouth, cocks up your ass, cocks, cock. It's like over time, it's like, all right, whatever. I don't.
Right. And for some, they really focused on the dick jokes, and it's like, there's probably more offensive stuff than dick jokes that's being said. But I don't know. They went with that. And it's like, I just don't feel like this was a surprise to anybody at all. But if it was a surprise to Sydney, if for some reason she was supposed to, like, she thought that it was going to be some like legit journalism gig, like a news show, which I cannot fucking imagine that's what actually ran through anybody's head, with a Blaze exclusive podcast on YouTube with Elijah Schaffer, that was going to be it. But maybe if that was the expectation and they failed to manage him, then the Blaze may be on the hook for something. Sure. Blaze will probably settle, though. I don't think they're going to.
I was wondering that too.
The discovery on it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you go through Blaze financials, you go through subscriber numbers, you go through income, you get contracts put out there, you get internal meetings, you get any emails, I mean, that related to the show at all. And they had a ton of guests, so all those emails could come out. I was named in the lawsuit very briefly.
That's what somebody told me that on Twitter, so I wanted to ask you. You were part of the hostile work environment.
No, I wasn't.
Basically, all my friends were contributing to the hostility.
I'm sad to say I wasn't, actually, because both times that I was on the show, I was their last guest, by the way. Shut that shit down. Both times I was on the show, I was actually booked by Sydney Watson. I was not booked by Elijah.
Oh, okay.
So she doesn't get to complain about me. Like,
but you're a huge misogynist. What? Well, that doesn't bode well for the lawsuit.
I'm like, and one of the big complaints is drinking on the show. I drank a shitload on both of those shows because they're like, here, bring a whole bottle of liquor with you to your thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, each time I'd gotten there, some guy had just sent them like 4 bottles of fresh liquor. They're like, do you want any of these? I'm like, yeah, I'll take that one. And then I just brought it down to the set, and I was just pouring glass after glass and having a good old time. I don't know. But yeah, I was booked by Sydney. So I don't think I'm one of the people that she considered misogynist. And I was like thinking back on the shows that I did, and we didn't really get into any topics that were ripe for misogynistic jokes even. So it was like, I don't know what it was. She bitched a lot about the Nick Fuentes thing. And I was like, didn't you guys just shit on Nick Fuentes the entire time during that show? Like
she was really tearing into him too. And then that was his quote of, well, I'm having an experience with a woman right now.
Have you been in a relationship with a woman?
No.
So how are you telling other people how to behave towards women when you yourself have not had any actual physical, interaction with them in a romantic capacity, or in fact in any capacity where you uphold them in a way that treats them with respect? I mean, if you're out here arguing that women are basically half the value of, well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, in fact, because that's not right. Mm-hmm. But, if you are looking to some other regimes around the world that do think that women are half the value of a man, I have to question what kind of a person who's had no experience with women is in a position to basically promote these ideas.
Well, I'm having an experience with a woman right now, and I've had lots of experiences with women in my life, not romantically per se, but I've talked to enough women. I've been in, I've known enough women to know sort of what's going on.
I mean, I think that might have caused the lawsuit. Looking back at it,
but it's like, I'm like, okay, so you didn't like having him on, which is fine, and you shit on him on the show, which is fine.
Relentlessly. Yeah,
like. And he took that in stride, and so everybody seemed fine. Like, why are you suing over this? It's a weird lawsuit to me in general, but I think it's calculated to make the Blaze settle, to grab some deep pockets and get a hold of them. And we'll have to see. I just don't think they want to do discovery on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but Elijah's just over there like, okay, whatever. He can't talk about anything. He's got an NDA from his time at the Blaze, so he's like, which,
okay,
when you think about it, it's gotta fucking suck, right? Because he's
not being able to talk about stuff. Yeah, it's my worst fucking nightmare.
That whole lawsuit just shits all over him. And he can't say a fucking word about it because he's on the NDA. He just can't. He can't even respond, and he's not in it.
He can't get his wife to respond, like tweet on his behalf, or something like that.
Nah, I mean, he can't. If anything like someone else says was like from non-disclosure shit, like
what if he starts a new company that's like called the Blobs or something, and has a new show, You Are There, and then just talks about that and hires someone that looks like Sydney to be his co-host there.
He should do that. Like, yeah,
that'd be funny.
You were here, and then just have a cutout of her.
Oh, my fucking host this week on You Were Here. God, I hate her.
But yeah, that's got to be a fucking nightmare. Yeah, you can't talk about anything, but they literally just shit all over me, and I would assume that his position is that most of it's fucking untrue. Because I don't know. Elijah has a bunch of shit accusations against him. Like he got accused of like groping a coworker and shit like that. And
is that what he got fired for? Or allegedly?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh, that's just what everyone said.
So that's what people assumed he got fired for. That was this narrative that popped out after he got fired. And I heard a lot of stuff, like people were like, oh, you haven't heard what's coming out behind the scenes. And I'm like, no, I haven't heard what's coming out behind the scenes. I'm guessing you haven't either, is my thought, like that you haven't heard what's coming out behind the scenes. But okay. When the Blaze made their announcement, it was Elijah Schaffer has been terminated following a personnel matter. Yeah. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a groping to me.
No.
Right? Like, that doesn't sound like that. It sounds like something else. I think he got fired over this. I think he got fired because the Sydney
covered their ass for the lawsuit, or because Sydney quit. Oh.
I think that's what happened. I think that Sydney made a bunch of complaints, that she leaves the show. She ultimately either quits or is terminated. She kept saying in the lawsuit that she was fired, but it's like, she didn't ever like post the termination letter or whatever. So it's like, were you fired, or were you just not on a show? And so you kind of quit. But it was also, to me, it was like the audacity of it. Okay. So you're getting paid $1.2 million in your contract, and you leave the show that you're on And then you're like, well, I can't believe they fired me. It's like, well, you weren't making the thing that you contracted to make. Like,
oh man, dick jokes, rape jokes, gay jokes, whatever you want. Bring them on all day. I'll listen. I'll stop joking for $1.2 million a year.
Could you imagine?
A year?
No, it wasn't a year. I don't know. It was a multi-year contract whose total value was $1.2 million. But you think, okay, so if it's 2 years, it's $600K. If it's 4 years,
that's Nick Rekieta money.
Not quite. No, if it's 4 years, it's it's still good money. If it's 4 years, it's $300K because she still has her own channel, which does really well. She's got like 870,000 subscribers or something.
Wow.
Like, and her videos do really well. So she can make decent money on YouTube. I'm sure she gets sponsorships.
Yeah.
But either way, you have this thing that you agree to do a show, and then like you don't do the show, and then you're like, well, I can't believe they fired me. It's like, well, what are they going to pay you for? You're not making the thing that they asked you to make. Like,
conservatives have a big problem with understanding the nature of like not working and not getting paid. It seems like the conservative firebrands, or at least the ones not from America, have a real hard time understanding that they have to work to make money.
Yeah, it's almost like
why that is.
People don't just write hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks for you to not do something.
Yeah.
Usually. But yeah, so I think so she leaves the show. She ends up leaving the company. I think there's rumblings about this lawsuit, and I think they probably terminate Elijah over that. And they go, look, we got to cover our ass on this misogyny. And then they get sued anyway, which is funny. And now they've got to figure out what to do. They gotta either pay up, or they're gonna have to go through discovery, and it's gonna be a disaster. And that's
penny saved. Is a woman fired?
Dick, what? Why are people? Why would anybody be offended?
I honestly don't know.
Dick, it was misogynistic. Yeah, and but it was really mean. Yeah, and like,
so like, well, who fucking cares?
You at the end of the day, you walk away with a massive paycheck for every show. They were doing what, one show a week?
Yeah.
They're like, no.
I don't know.
No, it was 5 shows. It was 5 shows a week. It was 5 shows a week.
Yeah. Oh, 5 shows a week? That's a lot.
Yeah. But still, I mean, if you're making $600K a year, 5 shows a week.
I guess if you just hate somebody, like if you hate working with them, then I could see it. And why not sue whomever? Like, nobody ever suffers for anything. Like violating principles, not violating principles. None of these figureheads ever suffer for any of it. So do whatever you want, honestly. Who fucking cares?
Yeah. I just don't know why you'd throw the gig away. Like, when you've got it. Like,
there's no way it was as bad as me working with Maddox for 2 years. That's all I know. All the dick jokes possible. There's no way it was that bad. And I stuck it out. So
yeah. But I don't know. I don't have to deal with the abuse of a co-host. Right. Like, I'm very safe here in my little bunker, my gun safe that I live in. And no one makes fun of me. My feelings are never hurt, so I'm not worried about it. Maybe if my feelings were hurt, I would feel differently.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Johnny K says, I know Elijah probably can't answer, but I always saw Sarah Gonzalez as the older chick that knows the guys want the young chicks blowing them and just wants to join in the fun, but people either don't or want nobody to know. Look, I don't know about Elijah and Sarah Gonzalez. When I heard about the alleged groping of Sarah Gonzalez by Elijah, my immediate thought was this. I bet that he groped or touched or whatever her consensually as a joke, and it was being cuck-scented by someone else who's like, Elijah and Sarah are in on the joke, and someone else is like, well, I don't approve. That's cuck-scent, and it's bullshit. And that's what it looked like to me, because Sarah Gonzalez wasn't flapping about it. Other people were. Other people were saying, this happened. Oh, my God. That's my guess. I'm sticking with that guess, by the way, until I see something real about that grope. I think it was completely consensual between Elijah and Sarah. And, either one of them is welcome to disagree with me. I think they would have a problem disagreeing with me.
That sounds reasonable.
I
just assumed that Elijah he thought he saw a guy's wiener falling out of his pants and he was grabbing for that and accidentally grabbed her boob. That's what I just assumed.
That's probably true too.
I don't.
Well, look,
I'm not familiar with the case though.
I was a cheerleader in college, right?
Yeah.
I touched all sorts of women in all sorts of ways that are completely harmless.
Right.
There was no sexuality involved, but there was very much like if you read it in a text message, divorce from emotion, it's like, oh my God, he put his hand down right near her vagina and then she put her vagina right on his hand. Like it sounds it's like that wasn't, but yeah, I had to lift her up like this and she was sitting on my hand. And the only thing you can sit on is the fucking pelvic bone because that's where the weight goes. Like I wasn't fisting this girl. I was lifting her up but it sounds sexual. That to me, it rung immediately as this is the type of shit. Like the way these people are talking, it's very vague. It's very non-committal. It's like, did he grab her tits or not? I don't know. Who is it? Okay. No, if you know whose tits he grabbed and it was inappropriate, you just say it. And by the way, so would that person. And Sarah Gonzalez never came out and was like, yeah, Elijah fucking groped me. It was gross. I reported it. That none of that shit happened. I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah. Is he still talking about who's going to hell, Elijah, on Twitter now? Or is he like pumped the brakes on? Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
And you're going to hell. You're going to hell. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little much for me, but whatever. And I don't think he probably shouldn't have said, hey, Glenn Beck, Mormons are going to hell. By the way, you're a Mormon and you're my boss. Probably not a good move. Like not the best move.
Sometimes you just want to tell your boss he's going to hell.
Exactly.
And it's a real place to you.